install LinuxCNC from source on any Linux-based distribution, and this will also work for the Raspberry Pi. So what we're running here is a Chromebook, and at the moment we're installing the Linux container, which is part of Chromebook. So this will provide us with a Linux environment, but it will not install any X Windows or so on, but it's been useful for me to be testing various stuff over time. So when this is complete, we will rejoin the environment. Oh no, here we go, it's now complete. One thing I forgot to talk about was that we need to get the preemptive RT operating system on our or kernel patch onto our system. Now this used to be quite involved, but fortunately now it's actually part of the Debian distributions, the Debian repositories. So once we have booted into Linux, at the terminal window, one of the things you have to do is type in sudo apt install -y, just reduces some of the stuff that's been taught, Linux image rt amd64 and Linux headers rt amd64. Now on another system you will have a program called Synaptic, which allows you to do this in a graphical environment and allow you to search for Linux image, and it's a little bit easier to do it that way because you don't have to remember this, but the preemptive RT image is Linux image RT. Sometimes you might find that you have some conflicts, but we're just going to go with this for now, and we will run that command to install preemptive RT before we do any further work on the system as soon as we load LinuxCNC, as soon as we load Linux up in the first instance. So now we have a Linux operating system. So what we want to do is to go over to the linuxcnc.org, and go to Documents, and we're going to be installing Master Branch, which is normally what you will install. So we'll go to the HTML documents for Linux 2.9, and we'll go down the bottom a bit and we'll find that we have developer information, and there's a whole chapter here on building LinuxCNC. So we're going to chop and change here a little bit, but the first thing that we need to do is to get the LinuxCNC source. So I've copied and pasted that. If you copy, just I hit Alt and clicked, and then that pasted it. So, or Control-Shift-V will also paste that line into the terminal. So it's going to take a little bit of time here, and it'll go out to GitHub and obtain the LinuxCNC source. Which is where the source lives, in this repository here, LinuxCNC repository. So it's pulling down all this code onto our website, onto our hard drive. So we'll just wait until this is complete. Now in the down here it shows how to find the build dependencies, so building Debian packages. So there's two ways that we can build LinuxCNC. One is to create deb files, which are compiled binaries ready to be installed, and the other way is to do what we call a run in place and install, which leaves LinuxCNC in its folder, and you run it from there. So but this is the first little bit that we're going to do. So we're sitting in what we call our home folder now, which is right at Penguin. Penguin being the Chromebook I'm on. So we've now updated the files here. I'm going to click on this tab here, and I'm going to use this as well, because one of the things I need to get is a text editor. Genie is a really nice text editor. I always recommend you install and use that, because we are going to use that quite a bit. So sudo apt install. Sudo means give me admin rights. Apt install Genie, the name of the program we want. I want to continue with that. I want to have this this extra tab open, because one of the things we're going to do is run Genie, and that will sort of lock this tab because it's running Genie. So there we go. There's the Genie text editor, nice little text editor. So okay, so we'll go back there. We've got Genie running, and so the next thing to do is to go over here and to type this one. Yes, we want to continue with that. So this is the Debian build environment for building deb files, which subsequently are likely to be hosted on the Debian repositories, which is where we obtain Genie from. So the next command it's asking us to do is type configure to go to the Debian folder and that failed for some reason. Maybe I hit something I shouldn't have. I've just run this before, so there isn't any reason for it to fail. I guess one of the things that's happening is that every one of these packages being installed are going to be needed as part of the dependencies. So because LinuxCNC is such a large program, there's a lot of dependencies within the LinuxCNC, within the Linux environment, that are required to compile it. So what my first step is to find out what those are. So we've now got this, and it says to go cd LinuxCNC dev Debian. We're there. Full stop / configure. Your full stop there says that that's this folder. So it's just shorthand to say in this folder, and sometimes we need to do that so there's no mistaking of what's going. And then it says over here, it says cd ... cd space ... Now .. is shorthand for the parent folder, so that will take us over to linuxcnc.dev. So now down the bottom of the page here it says run this. And it gives us a list of dependencies. So we're going to copy those, and we're going to go over to Genie and we're going to paste them in. And there's a lot of them and they're all on one line. And the thing that we have to do is go through here and get rid of these things in brackets. So it's a bit annoying that these are here, because this is saying that B widget needs to be a version greater than or equal to 1.7. But we don't want that at all, so I find it's better to just use the slider here. This is another one here. The pipe signal there is telling us that it uses one or the other, so we can delete one of them and get rid of that pipe signal. So we need to do this because we need a valid list of commands. This is another one where there's a pipe signal. There's another one here. Another one here. That looks like we've got them all, but we'll find out soon enough when we copy this into a command to install all of these programs. So we're going to type sudo to be administrator, apt install apt install Control-Shift-V. And we're underway. So I must have got something wrong before. So we're going to pause it here because we're going to take quite a bit of time to do this, and we'll go and have another cup of coffee, and once these are installed we're ready to build LinuxCNC. So at this stage we haven't really done much. We've just found the dependencies and we're in the process of installing them. And we used the documentation under building Debian packages to find those build dependencies. And having found that is such a simple process now, I have found, because it just gives you that list, and it's you just have to edit out a few things. And the next one is configure with realtime equals uspace. So that runs the configure program. It's going to check that all our dependencies are there. Sometimes it'll find an error here and you need to add another dependency in, but it's very rare now that we've got that worked out. Yes, it does. It's saying that this one is not found. So that was easy. Sometimes these dependencies being found now are only used by the screen environments, by the GUIs, so they're not really part of the overall thing. So here's another one that I missed. I'm going to put in this flag. It suggests you use enable non-distributable equals yes. non-distributable, typo. There we are. So now all we have to do is type make, and sometimes I'm not going to do it on the Chromebook here because I don't think it'll make any difference, but you can put a -J and a number of processes that you have. So often we'll put -J4, which will allow make to generate code in different streams. So it should generate, it should compile and faster. So time for another coffee. Let's start running this. I'll take the J4 out, just type make. So that was painless. It took a little bit of time, but here we are, we're back, and we'll stop this here, and it says right at the end you need to run sudo make set UID. So let's do that. And there you have it. We now have a working Linux system, but with run in place, you need to, and it's down here, in this area here, where you have to run this this little thing here. So let's have a look. The RIP environment, this script sets up the environment variables so Linux knows where to find all the bits and pieces of LinuxCNC. So we're going to do this one, and it's very important that we, I'll just go back one folder, and we just type in a full stop and then scripts, it's very important that you put this full stop at the beginning of it, and then a space, and the dot then, as we said, is for the current folder, linuxcnc.dev /scripts/RIP environment. So that's all it is. So if we type LinuxCNC now, the system will run, but I don't expect it to work on this Chromebook. There's something happened because the Chromebook is using Wayland, and most of the Linux environments are still using X11. So there's some incompatibility that I think is due to a recent change in the Chromebook environment. So all you have to do then is type LinuxCNC. You can see here that's trying to open. It probably will just pop up. Very briefly, it popped up there to show you that it's running, but then I'm getting this error on the Chromebook. So now the only other thing that I want to show is what happens now when you want to do an update. In run in place, you just go to the source folder and you type git pull. And if there's any code being added to the repositories, since we pull down our environment, it will go and grab it. It's already up to date, and then all we would have to do is repeat make and sudo set UID. Done. Sometimes you might I'll just run that. Sometimes you might want to start from scratch. The default behavior of make is that we'll only rebuild the files that are required, but sometimes if you do a major change, you might want to do make clean, which will clean everything out and start from scratch, but it will take the same length of time as it took now to do the installation. So that's, in a nutshell, how to install LinuxCNC. I'm sorry I can't show it running here on the Chromebook, but I chose to do this on the Chromebook because it's really easy to do screen recordings on it, which is harder on the other platforms. So there you have it, how simple it is to install LinuxCNC compiled from source on any environment that you choose. I will say that there is a shortcut method to do this, if you go over to the QTPYVCP site, James put a really nice simple installation process here that goes through step by step on an environment how to do exactly what we did. So he's actually listed all those dependencies here, so we didn't have to work them out, but it's worth, and you can see he's doing all the exact same steps that we did, and he's chosen here, and you can try these steps, he's chosen to build the Debian packages here. So that is, and you stop here before you get to commence the installation of QTPYVCP, and you'll have a complete installation of LinuxCNC. He's chosen to build the debs, so he shows you how to install them. So that's the end of this little lesson, so thanks for watching.